Okay, so it is 5:15 on Monday, April 28th, so I'll call to order this meeting of the New Ulm Human Rights Commission. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the March 24th meeting, so I'll have everybody review that and let me know if there are questions or changes needed.
Oh, that was it. Thank you.
Any questions or changes so far? If everybody's through it and we don't have any questions or changes, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as they are.
So move.
Second.
All right, all approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Then next is the budget report, which is attached here. So we have most of our budget remaining. We've just had a few things reimbursed for supplies for the Human Rights Award ceremony. So supplies and food. So we have 98% of our budget remaining. There'll be a few items as we're coming up here that will likely take some out of that budget. We don't need a motion on that at all. So the next item on the budget is we need to prepare our 2026 budget request. The deadlines to submit this is June 27th, and then we have to determine an amount to request for each category, and that is also attached. The process and the budget. So we'll go through and decide what we want, and then we'll send it to Lisa, and then it'll get submitted. The city staff will review applications to prepare the information for the city council review. There'll be a work session with the city council on July 15th to discuss, and we should be prepared to have a representative at the work session, and then contributions will be approved in August. And then she has budget requests for 2026 attached also. It's not letting me load it. Hold on. You're doing the same thing?
I'm struggling to
Yeah,
get into
when I download it, it doesn't come up. When I hit view, I just get the sheets, but I don't get the information.
it. Same.
Anybody else having any luck?
I was able to get it to download.
You were? Okay.
Mhm.
Can I just give it a second?
How did you do that?
Oh, got it.
Oh,
So if you hit download, go back to it. And then,
oh, it's loading over here.
yeah, then you have to
Oh,
go
okay.
to
Thank you.
What are you looking at?
The budget request for 2026. It's community events, Human Rights Award, essay contest
there.
prizes, poster contest.
I swear it wasn't. Okay.
Does it have blanks there or numbers from last?
So we have 2025, what we requested for 2025, and then 2026, what we need to put in for what we propose. So the first item is community events and promotional materials, fair, booth, parade, banner, signs, logo, stickers, etc. That was $1,500 that we requested in 2025. The Human Rights Award reception and plaque was $500 in 2025. Essay contest prizes, $1,200. Poster contest prizes, $1,200. Program expenses, so speakers, honorariums, publicity, and materials, that was $2,200. Educational expenses, fees and travel expenses to attend human rights educational events, $1,900. The total we requested in 2025 was $8,500. We got $6,050, and we did get $1,100 carried over from 2024. So our 2025 budget was $7,150. And the notes basically correlate with what the item was. So basically, we have to decide what we want to ask for next year, and then go through that process to request it from the city council. Any questions?
Madam Chair, I heard you state the amount in the 2025 budget for the Human Rights Awards at $500, is that correct?
Correct, yep.
Since we had 2 plaques this year, did that go over budget, or?
So that was from the 2024 budget. So we pick the Human Rights Award in 2024, but we didn't do the ceremony till 2025. So the plaque actually came out of the 2024 budget. So,
And did it cover?
yes,
Yeah. Okay. So if we were to do 2 in the future,
it would be, yeah.
it would still
cover
be
it.
sufficient.
Yeah, because we also have food and
Yeah.
depending on what we do for a ceremony. So we have, it's the bulk of it is not necessarily for the plaque. We just have it in there for the ceremony.
How does this track with previous years?
It's very similar.
Okay.
I think in previous years, we've just carried it over,
Okay.
unless there was something that we felt we had fallen short on or needed more. But we've generally just carried over the amount requested. I know that we didn't use the essay and poster contest prizes, but I know coming up later down in the agenda, we talk about something different we could do.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I necessarily would want to completely eliminate that because we're still trying to come up with something.
The other thing I would ask is last year we had $500 for the Welcoming America related promotion, and it's my understanding that that was a one-time opportunity. And I'm hearing or recall that the feedback was very positive from that event. And if going forward we want to continue that as a commission, we might consider for the 2026 budget of putting in an extra 500 or 1,000 for that event.
Yeah, good
Me-
point.
Yeah, to me, that was well done, and I think that the community did participate, and if we continue with it, it would only get bigger and better.
Yeah. I agree with that. And then if we do a partnership with Park and Rec for their wellness event, and I'm trying to recall, we were hoping to get a grant for it, and I feel like the grant was more than, we did not receive the grant, I know, but it was much more than even what Park and Rec would have been seeking.
Yeah, I feel like the grant was like maybe up to $1,000, and we wouldn't have used. I can't remember what we requested, but we didn't request the full amount you could get for that grant. Okay.
So I think I want to say it was about $200
Okay.
was what Park and Rec was seeking. And for everybody else, that was just, they did like a free community event, so you could get into the park to Vogel for free. And then different organizations could have a booth there. You could provide like healthy snacks or, something that kind of fit with that theme. But we were hoping to participate in that, and we didn't this time. It was kind of a short timeline, honestly. But they're having another event in the fall.
Yeah, and they mentioned that we were gonna try and still do it, but the timeline just didn't work out because it was so fast because we were waiting to hear about the grant, and then we didn't get the grant, and it just didn't work out. So they did let us know that there was an event, I think in September. Other thoughts?
Do we typically, this has been my experience in the past, whenever seeking funding is usually get less than what you request?
Yes. Yep.
Is this
So,
pretty
yeah,
typical?
This is pretty typical of
Okay.
what we request and what we get back. So, yep. Or get approved. So, yes.
I guess most of my questions are going to end up coming up when we talk about the education, because I don't want to jump ahead, but like that part of the budget, that's where my question is, do we allocate that somewhere else, or do we
And
try to, like, what's our plan?
Yeah, and I
Ladder
know,
dust, I'll
like
have
in the
more-
past, if we've had something that we haven't used, like in the past, we haven't used, last, in 2024, we use a lot of our speaker budget. Some years we haven't used that and we've used it for other things. So this isn't like a hard and fast, okay, you have $1,200 for this prize. We can move it around, but this is about what we estimate that we use for each item.
Okay. How are we doing on supply?
We are going to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, it is down here.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah, all my questions have to do with stuff.
Stuff later in the agenda, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Any other questions or thoughts, discussion?
What is the city budget looking like this year?
It's pretty premature. I'm sure there will be a lot of asks.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it'll be more conservative just because of some unknowns, but
Sure.
that I can't speak to.
Yeah, fair.
And we did use a lot of our budget. The reason we didn't use this $1,100 from 2024 was because we didn't have any entrance into the essay contest.
If that's the case, then I feel like we should seek the same amount that we have in the past with the hopes of getting awarded, 6,000, similar to what we got last year. And then with our carryover, I think we're pretty good at
I also agreed to add
finding.
500 or 1,000 for the welcome week
Mhm.
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, and I believe that is on the agenda too, to discuss continuing that. So it'd be a good item to add if we're going to want to make it an annual thing.
So just increase the community events to $2,000
Yeah, because that
instead
would,
of $1,500.
yep, that would tie in with that. Any other discussion? Okay, do I have any motions on that?
Are we motioning for a total requested of $9,000 then?
Yeah, if we're gonna add, I would say, yeah, if we're gonna add 500 onto it, I'm understanding that what you guys are proposing is that we would ask for the same amount plus $500.
And we would add the extra $500 in the community events. Well, I propose that we approve this budget, increasing it to $9,000 total, with that extra $500 being part of the community events and promotional materials.
I'll second.
You have any other discussion? All approved, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. So that motion passes. Okay, so then we're down to events committee. So the first thing on the events committee is the Human Rights Awards ceremony, the summary of the March 26th event, and then we do have a thank you from one of the recipients. And so I had her attach it. She sent it to me, but then I sent it to Lisa to have attached. She just said, "Please share my appreciation for a wonderful evening last night with the members of the Human Rights Commission. While I usually try not to be in the limelight, it was a blast. So many kind wishes and caring people. The program was thoughtfully presented. Again, many thanks to the entire commission for your efforts and for enriching our community." So summary of the event, I think it went really well. I think it's the best turnout we've had in quite a while, and just very positive energy. Having two recipients, I thought it was really well. It went really well, and it highlighted kind of different ways you could support human rights.
Yeah, I counted 50 people attending, which is really good.
It worked really well to have it at the community center. We've done that the last few years. Probably went overboard on the refreshments, so I'll have to keep that in mind for next year. But we can remember that.
I think you planned appropriately for the number of people, just not for the lack of appetite. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I thought
Yeah.
it didn't seem excessive to me. I was kind of surprised not many people were taking it.
It was really nice. We don't always have, so like we had asked the people who nominated them if they would read their nominations and speak, and then we asked for the nominees to speak. We don't always get that because people don't necessarily want to talk or say much. So it was really nice that all the people who submitted nominations were able to present their nominations, and then the people who received the awards were able to speak. I think that was really nice.
It was great.
Okay, and then a forum regarding immigration concerns, report from the April 1st committee meeting. So we had a meeting on the 1st to discuss this. This was brought forward at the previous meeting. And so we just met to talk about what we were going to do going forward. This is further down the agenda, but we reached out to COPAL, which is a organization that provides services to the Latina community, and they've done some forums on immigration rights and what are your rights, what options you have, what's out there. So we were going to partner with them to do an event that would be open to the community, looking at the end of probably beginning of June now, just because David wasn't able to come tonight. But he did reach out to me. I had a little bit of a meeting with him. He was very open to participating. So we envisioned having possibly like a virtual part of the event so that people who weren't able to come would be able to listen to the information, and then actually having it at the community centers for people to come, and just thinking that people who would come who would want resources, but then also open to the community just to learn more, just because immigration is so complicated and there's a lot of misinformation out there. What am I missing?
I think that about summed it up.
The cards.
Oh,
Yeah, I took that to the city manager and we discussed that, and we took it off the agenda just because they felt like it was actually providing legal advice, and as a commission, we can't provide legal advice. So they did say, like, if this organization wanted to hand them out, that would be fine, but as a commission, we shouldn't be handing them out because it's technically legal advice, and we don't want to be, as a commission, be seen to be like giving legal advice. So that's why that was taken off the agenda.
these are just little wallet-sized cards that talk about your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights.
So again, we're looking at June, and he basically just said, we just need to get some dates together, send some dates to him, and then they can have representatives come. He was, like I said, this was further down the agenda, but he was going to come tonight and just kind of speak about the organization and everything they do. But with the weather, he emailed me kind of last minute, and I said we could just push him to the May meeting. And so we'll get him rescheduled for that meeting. So basically more to follow on that. We don't need a motion or anything. We're just work in process, and we're looking at June.
What goes into making it partially virtual?
That's the one thing we have to figure out. I was going to try and maybe partner with NewCat and see if they could help. That was a little bit up in the air because we just weren't sure how to make that work. So if anybody has any thoughts. And then Welcoming Week, which is also on the agenda. We just threw it on the agenda now because it's April, just because last year we did a really good job and it was an amazing event, but we just didn't have a lot of runway. And so we just thought we'd put it on the agenda just so we can start thinking about it. Welcoming Week is, we want to have the event between the 12th and the 21st of September. So just want to kind of target getting something on the books to start planning that so we're not so rushed to get it planned. So I think what we'll probably do, unless there's discussion or questions about it, we'll probably just have Lisa schedule. So that'll be under the HRC Events Committee. So we'll have Lisa schedule a meeting for that subcommittee, and then we can just start from there. Okay. Not to say that everybody can't help with the planning, but just have the group get together and kind of make some decisions on exact date, and like, what do we envision for the event? What do we all want to do? Who do we want to invite? That kind of thing.
What day of the week did we have it last time?
It was a Friday.
Okay. I liked it on a Friday. I think people are often looking for things to do on a non-school night.
Yeah, that's why we did it. I think.
I liked that. So I would.
So it would be the 12th or the 19th then.
Okay.
Yeah, and just organizing, like reserving the city building parking lot. We'll need to organize when we decide on a date. So just want to get that going well ahead of time so we have lots of time to make sure we contact organizations that we want to partner with, food trucks, whatever we want to do. So we'll have Lisa put a meeting together for that subcommittee.
I don't know.
Well, and that actually brings up going back to the budget, because our notes from last year. So most of that 500 was the bouncy house.
Correct.
And then everything else was voluntary, but we said garbage cans, porta potties, tables and chairs.
Yep.
So we would need 1,500 to get all of those things. So we would actually probably want to add to the budget if we actually want to have a couple porta potties and some tables and chairs.
Gotcha.
unless they can be donated. And if we plan ahead of time, that's something we might be able to get to happen. But if we have to fund it, we probably want to be prepared for that.
Do we maybe have a motion on that budget addition?
I'd like to motion on adding another 1,000 to the budget for this event, the Welcome Week event, for porta potties, tables, chairs, and garbages.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion on that item?
Just a quick question on the additional $1,000, and I heard you summarize some of the things it might be used for. Do we have like an expense of what certain things would cost to?
I have a general
Justified.
idea from running events before,
Yeah.
and I do also know we might be able to get them donated, but if that's all part of the planning process, so it's better to have it and not need it and than need it and not have it. Because it was definitely, people were looking for bathrooms and having to go like downtown to use use a restroom at a place that they weren't spending money
customer,
at.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we
So that was
definitely, needed
definitely-
garbages too.
Yep, and
There
there
was-
wasn't a lot of places for people to sit and eat and enjoy the food trucks that we had there.
Yep.
That's true.
And I think that's wise to plan ahead, but in listening to what I heard on the budget plans and Lisa's release of the agenda materials, it talked about the council wanting to see the justification for the amounts of money you're requesting.
Mhm.
I think that's maybe a general instruction.
Yep.
But if we're going to add another $1,000 budget, I think we should be prepared to list essentially what we might be using that money for.
Yeah. I mean, I can get general cost information for all of the vendor type items what it would cost if we could not get it donated.
That would
I would just need a general, so it would have to be after.
Yeah,
we
and it
actually
looks
have our
like the work
subcommittee.
session for the city council is on July 15th. So if
We have
we,
time.
if we put a meeting together, just a preliminary start this event with the events committee, we would have some time to kind of put together that and then go to the city council work session to just kind of go over what we'd be spending, the different things.
Well, the money we're asking for in July is for next year.
Correct.
So,
So we already have the money, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep, that is correct. It's a good call out.
so I think after, yeah. Oh, so how long, so we have until July to finalize our budget request?
Yes.
It sounds like maybe we need to go back and rethink it, maybe.
Yeah. How about this? And I'll give you my idea and then you guys can motion or not motion. We could table the budget request to the next meeting and have Lisa set up a meeting in the events committee so we could get an estimate for what that event might cost and then bring both things back to the next meeting. And then we can just wait on finalizing our budget request till the next meeting.
I think that makes sense. Because even with like the education and planning, there's going to have to be that subcommittee to
Yeah,
figure
and
out.
we're going to talk about materials today too, which this is all for 2026, which I understand, but at least it'll give us a good idea of what we're going to look for this year. And then, yes.
Madam Chair, did I understand that the budget request for this commission has to be in the hands of the city treasury's office by the 17th of July?
Correct.
So
Their
by-
work session is the 17th of July.
So by our meeting in June, we have to have ours finalized and ready to go.
Yes. Which gives us 2 meetings after this one. Yes, that is correct. And I want to just double check.
So while we're having the conversation about that, I think the reason to have it on the parking lot was so there was visibility. Or is that something to rethink of taking it to German Park where there are restrooms and grassy spaces and so on? And that's also a city entity. And maybe that would be more inviting than a parking lot?
Absolutely.
I don't know.
With time to plan, that might be a thing, but I feel like we did get a lot of foot traffic that didn't know anything about it because we were on Broadway with the bouncy house and food trucks.
And we did have, even though it was a short runway, we did have a lot of advertising. It was on the bank sign, it was in the paper, it was on all the city social media
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah. But originally we had talked about
Yeah.
that as well, because what was it that had just, the music in the park was just ending?
Yes.
What, would the food trucks be able to park down by German Park? Would they be able to park on German?
It would have to be on the street, and we'd have to get the street.
Yeah.
You have to get the street blocked off?
You'd have to have the street blocked off, I believe. They also could park, on German Park like they do for the night out.
Like in the lower
The food
portion.
trucks are actually right on the ground.
Oh,
The food trucks come to National Night Out?
I don't remember. I was stuck at the booth.
You were happily assigned to the booth.
Volunteering.
I mean, I was doing my job.
There was a Lola's truck there. I do remember that. And then maybe another one.
Yeah, there were 2 trucks, and then there was a third venue. I would think it was Made Rights or something like that on the grounds.
Yes.
I think both.
When is National Night Out again? Wasn't it just like a month before this?
It's further down.
July 31st.
July
A little more than a
31st.
month.
Yeah.
2 months before. I mean, we could advertise it there too, that we're.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Now that we have, yeah. Okay. So we're back to the budget proposal.
Sounds like we need to table it.
Yeah.
I have such a motion.
so move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on that? Okay, so the motion to table the budget request until next meeting when we have more information passes. And then I will have Lisa set up a meeting.
I don't think did you vote?
Oh, no, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Got the first and a second.
I got the first and the second. All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now that motion passes. Sorry. And then I will have Lisa set up a meeting for the subcommittee to start planning the welcoming week, and that'll help us too with the budget for next year. Events committee. So Bavarian, so these are basically almost all upcoming events for the participants. So these are events that we participate in that we don't run as a HRC. The Bavarian Blast 5K Fun Run, sponsored by the Wellness Collective, which is Saturday, July 19th at 8 a.m. We did receive a request from this organization, from the Wellness Collective, to sponsor, and the request is attached. So they're looking for community partners to sponsor the Wellness Collective's first ever Bavarian Blast 5K Fun Run. They are a nonprofit, and then for a sponsorship, you get our logo on a sign along the race route, a logo on the back of the T-shirt, social media posts from the Wellness Collective social media, your information, and a handout given to all race participants and volunteers, and then a tax-deductible donation receipt. So they're requesting the Human Rights Commission to sponsor at $125. And again, they're a nonprofit. Discussion.
And I think the rationale was largely around the free class Friday, which our support, how does that fit into human rights, is increasing access to those classes by offering the free class Friday with free childcare. So removing barriers is what they listed here. So as I recall, that was kind of where we saw the partnership.
Madam Chair, has the HRC done something similar in the past? So there's some history to doing such a thing, sponsoring like this? I'm unfamiliar with it.
Not when I've been on the commission, but I don't know. I'm not sure previous years, but not since I've been on the commission. No, we have not gotten a sponsorship request like this or sponsored any like activities like this in town that I'm aware of.
That might be something we should, run by the city staff to see if this is something that we can do if we want to.
We had a similar request last year from the Wellness Collective, and then there was confusion about whether they were a nonprofit, and so they have since established. So we couldn't do it when they were not established as a nonprofit. So I do recall we've had some discussion with city staff, right?
Yeah, and we do review, like when I send items to Lisa or people submit items to Lisa to get on the agenda, we do a review, and if there's questions, she'll generally reach out to Chris, the city manager, and then circle back if it's something that would not be appropriate for us to discuss. So I think as long as, I'm not saying we should or shouldn't do it, but I believe that because we put it on here, it has been vetted that we can consider the request.
Well, and couldn't this kind of be considered going towards advertising budget because of all the
Yeah.
logo
And
packets?
I think that's one of the reasons it was brought forward. It would be an opportunity to kind of advertise the presence of the Human Rights Commission
And even
and
the
our events and what we do.
Yep.
Just as a point of clarification, I do believe it was taken to our city attorney, and the feedback was that it would be okay as long as they were not-for-profit.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, because that was the hiccup last time.
Correct.
So Mayor, that was for this particular item?
Yes, for the $125 request. And you did not receive a copy on that email?
I don't think I don't. I'm pretty sure I didn't, but
Okay. Okay. Well, you could do a motion saying if it is
Gotcha.
legally
yeah. we
correct,
can-
but my understanding was, and I assumed that you had gotten that, so I hope I'm not speaking
Okay.
out of turn here.
So if we passed it with the language of pending approval from
Yeah.
city legal staff, I suppose.
Well, I would motion to approve pending it's approved by the city to contribute the 125.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. And that motion passes. Bavarian Blast Parade is our next item. It's Sunday, July 20th at 12:30. Registration deadline is June 30th. The fee is $10. There's a little information attached on Bavarian Blast. We have participated in this in all past years. That since I've been on the commission, I know they participated in years prior to that. So we basically just put together, not a car, a float, and walk and hand out our yard signs and stickers and pamphlets and candy.
I think it's a great thing to be involved in.
It's always a lot of fun.
Exhausting, but fun.
Right.
Hot.
Very hot.
That is true. So,
I make a motion that we participate.
Second.
all right, is there any other discussion on that one? All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And that motion passes. We'll get that registration in. Then New Ulm Night Out is Thursday, July 31st from 5:30 to 8:30 at German Park. Information will be distributed in May. We have always also participated in this event.
This is when I was at with Janine last year, and I think we should participate, but I think we should get some sort of bags for people because I think that was kind of a popular thing when people had their logo on a bag, and then because everyone's handing out stuff. We were early on in the sidewalk, like the entrance or whatever. So, but.
Yeah, I think it's another good event where we just kind of are visible to the community. We have resources and stuff we hand out. Any other discussion on that one?
Do we have to make any motions yet, or is this just
Um,
a notice since we're not getting
Yeah,
information
we can
until
just,
next?
that one is just a notice because we
Okay.
don't have registration. Brown County Free Fair, again, that's an event we participate in. That's Wednesday, August 6th through Sunday, August 10th. We always have a booth in the Civic Center. Looks like she requested registration information, so we don't have that yet at this time. So that's another FYI. And then the Southern Central Minnesota Pride Fest Parade and Festival, which is Saturday, September 6th. Again, she requested registration information. It's not available yet, so that's another FYI that'll be staying on the agenda until we get more info. And then we have the inventory of our current Human Rights Commission handouts, and we need to determine if supply is sufficient for summer events or if we need to order any items.
Do we know how much we had going into last summer?
I don't. This is
I
just
know
the
we went
current.
through a lot.
Yeah.
The parade,
Yeah.
we went through a lot.
Off the top of my head, I feel like we ordered signs last year and we didn't go through a ton of them.
Yeah, one of the things we found is that people didn't want to carry
Carry it
them. The
around,
parade was
yeah.
like the big thing, but also the parade we ended up without a vehicle.
Yeah. So,
So
we didn't have yeah.
we only had what we had.
So right now we have 81 yard signs, and those are the humanity, kindness, community ones with 87 yard sign stakes, 70 lip balms, which just have our logo on them, 197 stickers that are our Human Rights Commission logo, 466 stickers that are about kindness and social justice, 2 bags of candy that are unopened, 5¼ pounds in each bag, 29 brochures, 82 bookmarks. We need to update the link that are on those, 48 business cards that have HRC info and Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Also need to update the link on them, and then plastic bags from Alina containing NUMC info, Band-Aids, and holder, and that was from the Welcoming Week event. They were Alina bags that were donated to us. They couldn't have a booth at the Welcoming Week event, but they gave us bags. So those are with the supplies.
I can't remember what we originally ordered for the lip balm, but I know that we were pretty close to out by the parade being done.
And I think we split them, so we had some left. Because there's, 70 is not a lot, but we have 70 left. So I think those were split off for the fair.
And the stickers, didn't we get another batch of 500 after doing 1,000?
Yes. The kindness and social justice ones, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It seems like it would be a good idea to kind of re-up on everything except for the yard signs.
Yeah, we have quite a bit.
Unless we got a brand new logo.
Yeah.
Because, mine's still holding up pretty good in my yard.
And I
don't
think
even know
we found that too. People already had them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so then they didn't need another one. I have mine too.
I still have the old one up, and it's still going strong.
Yeah, they last fairly well.
Well, I guess I would like to table looking at some other things because I know we had talked about it last year, but we didn't have it in the budget to get some more fun things.
Yep. So our first event is what? Bavarian. Nope. The first event will be the Bavarian Blast, because then the national. So we have a little time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I know that kind of became one of the things last year. It's like, oh, well, we got to get something. And that's why we went with the chapstick. But we had talked about like balls, like the stress balls, and then
Bags.
Bags.
Mhm. Yeah,
Other,
I don't think
I
we
don't know, you know supplies.
Yeah.
the brochures and the pamphlet. Like, I'm afraid
They're
those
kind of-
might end up in the.
Well, and I feel like we're gonna
Trash.
know if we need them. I feel like it's like at the parade, it was forcing people to take them, where they were excited about the different stickers
Yeah.
or the candy or the chapsticks.
Agreed.
And the bookmarks and the brochures, that'd be, I feel like it'd be something that would like sit at our booth that they could take if they wanted.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think if we were to get creative with promo items, it's kind of an intersection of something useful and fun, but also contains helpful information on it. Like that's kind of the perfect crossroads.
Yeah.
So maybe we just do some brainstorming and bring ideas next meeting, or that might be too long.
Well, we could, because we're already throwing together a meeting about Welcoming Week. We could add,
Yep.
we could add that on to it.
Sure.
That'll be the HRC sponsored events committee, but I think it's fine. Or I could have her do a separate meeting with the participating events committee because they hand out more of the stuff.
I think either way.
Yeah, I think it would probably be fine to handle both of those at one rather than,
Yeah.
I'll make a note.
So then we will table a proposal for items to order till the next meeting. Education Committee, so distribution of community surveys, report for the March 31st committee meeting. Anybody here that was at that meeting?
Us three. It was a really good conversation. I think we talked about a lot of different fun ideas and places that we could go. trying to remember in my mind. Let's see.
So yeah, she had distribute flyer with QR code and printed version of survey throughout the community, create a list and have members sign up for different locations to post flyer and pick up printed copies on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about how hard it is to get responses for surveys and ways that we could address it from multiple different media sources. So not everybody uses their smartphone or QR code. Some people want printed. So yeah, we came up with a lot of ideas of where we could do that, right?
Drop-off places.
Yeah, some community drop-off places and brainstorm some ideas in town where we might be able to post it, in addition to everything that we've already done, which was, I think we posted it through the city page because we don't have our own Facebook page. But, yeah, I'm trying to remember too.
Were we trying to do paper option besides the
Yes.
QR code with a
Yeah.
box at all
Yes.
of our booths, right?
But then there was also talk of distributing at different places around town, like at the
Right,
library and senior centers and, churches or wherever else. Just so we can kind of cast a wide net.
Yeah, I don't know that there were really any action items for the larger committee from that.
Okay.
I mean, we may need some more people if we do end up having paper copies placed, we may need to share that work. Was about the only thing I think we would need.
Okay.
Is there currently like a printable version of it?
There's not, because it's in a Google form, so there must be a way to print a Google form.
Type it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As it stands right now, no, but I think that would be fairly easy to do.
Okay. So no action items, you think? We'll just keep.
Yeah, I think just keep that on the agenda.
Okay. All right, and then the next item from the Education Committee was the alternate options for the poster essay video contest, also from the March 31st meeting.
Yeah, I mean, the discussion was really around, 6.2 and 6.3 all go together, but
Okay.
maybe moving away from a student-based outreach to just a community education focus. So it's not just for the kids because they aren't participating.
Right.
So we had, I think kind of where we landed is talking about this 6.3 of living with limits. And, is there a way we could do a series of sessions where we talk about, different types of limits that maybe aren't, visible ones, but also invisible limits. And how, because one of our tenets is making sure everybody has equal access to, public services, and just kind of giving people an idea of maybe ways they can make their community more accessible, both like through physical changes of things that need to happen in the community, but also just, awareness.
Even just knowing the resources they have when you have a
Knowing
disability.
resources,
sometimes
yeah.
just not knowing what our community offers. I find in the work that I do, a lot of that limits people. They don't know. They don't know that they can access help.
Yeah.
We also talked about having, trying to come up with some experiential
Mhm.
experiences, to help people understand what it might be like to be limited in one way or another.
Yeah. I did some further research on that after the meeting, and kind of what I came back with was that's a good intention, but it's not really, it doesn't really have the lasting impact that
Oh, okay.
one might think. And I was researching it from the perspective of people who are living with limits, and I guess it's seen a little ableist or something to mimic some sort of way of living with a limit. If it's not also accompanied with an action item, like that can't be the entire activity or action. It needs to be in the context of what you can do about that. So I think that's just something to keep in mind. But I'm glad I read about it because it made me think about it more and differently.
I just want to bring up that I did use an experiential training with a museum I worked in Rockford, Illinois. This was back, I'm dating myself, but in the early 90s when ADA was, out there, but people weren't paying attention to it. And one of the things that came out for museums was that we need to put our labeling and our panels visually at a location so those who are in a wheelchair, if you will, or a motorized chair have accessibility. So what I did was staff, our management staff, and there were 5 different departments, the manager had to be in a wheelchair for a day. And then the 5 managers came together and shared their experience. And then they decided or came back to me with recommendations how they would instill that with their staff. Because basically it was a shoulder shrug, like, do we really have to? Or how important is this? But accessibility, just for those that are handicapped and in a chair like that, but it was an action related to it, Sarah. But I just wanted to share that with you because it was very impactful with the staff.
Thank you.
I had a living with limitations experience last evening at the Chanhassen Dinner Theater. My wife was escorting me to the restroom, and as we were getting close to it and obviously headed that way, a gentleman came up from behind and asked if he could help me navigate inside the restroom. And I said, sure. And as it turns out, it was a gentleman from New Ulm. So I thought that was a good thing. I mean, helping out, doing what you can.
Yeah.
That.
Would you envision this, like, as an example, when you talk about, using NewCat? Now they do a program once a month. It's called Something Artsy. And I'm wondering if we could, through the commission, just a suggestion, not that we have to do it, but if we would come up with a subject matter and maybe do 4 a year, where somebody from the commission or another expert could talk on a particular subject, because the feedback I get is a lot of people watch those broadcasts. I was surprised. Now, maybe it's just my age group, but people would come to me and say, I saw you on TV, and I said, you saw me on TV. But it happened to be through NewCat and their broadcast. So that would be an opportunity for us.
Yeah, I think the takeaway from that meeting of the subcommittee was looking at kind of an enduring activity or a series of activities versus just trying to do one contest. And so not only are you expanding the scope of people you're reaching, but also, the time, right?
Like
So-
multiple touches.
Multiple
throughout the
touches,
year.
right.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. A lot more like engaging and thinking about tough things and, just overall just drumming up a lot more discussion, right? And awareness.
Touching a lot more people.
Yeah.
Involving more people.
What do we think? What are the next steps? What's the next thing we need to do?
I think the idea was to bring all of the ideas here
Okay.
and to kind of just get feedback on what people thought and, whether we were kind of going down the right path, if this was something new that we wanted to try. And if so, I think the next step would probably be developing a framework, probably like you were suggesting through NewCat, maybe doing like a quarterly deal, reaching out to different speakers or, developing material, basically.
Or even different groups in other, like, different affiliations like ARS and like different things that already do things and giving them an opportunity to have a platform.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I would really like the idea of it, like being throughout the year and having multiple touches and different topics and reaching as many people as possible because, like you said, we haven't gotten a lot of participation with our contest. Maybe this is a different way to share information with the community and just kind of help versus just a one-time contest.
Yeah. And I like the idea of partnering with other organizations that are doing this accessibility work
Yeah.
every day.
And just supporting and being, a resource for them to get their information out versus us creating something that we might not be the expert in, but we have resources that we can use.
And that would be something that we could also incorporate into those other things that the group does, the things we talked about earlier, the Bavarian Blast Day and those things,
Absolutely.
That could also totally going all over the board here. That could all of those events could be a great opportunity to hand out the physical surveys.
Yeah. Oh,
as
we
well.
did talk
yeah,
about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like that was somewhere.
We should also have a place to put them at the same event
Yeah.
because somebody, if with luck, they'd fill them out there and then they could just
Yeah, it's like a
put them out in a box, yeah.
So I think the next steps are like what different limits do we want to look into? If that's, I mean, do we like that theme, I guess, as a group?
Is there
the
perhaps a
title.
motion?
I
And then-
motion to keep looking into the theme that was selected of different
Living with limits?
living with limits. Thank you. I could have just looked at my sheet.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do you have any other discussion? All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. That motion passes, and I will have Lisa put together another meeting for you to kind of work through that. Other business. Update from Carl regarding the possibility of Herman Express pamphlets in Braille and other languages.
I spoke with the manager of the county transit, Heartland and Herman Expresses, and he got some information that to Braille the pamphlet for Heartland would be $16 per pamphlet, and for the Herman Express to Braille would be $25 per pamphlet. And he hadn't yet received any feedback on what the cost would be to print pamphlets in another language. I think we threw out there, perhaps in Spanish would be an appropriate one to do given our demographics in our area. So he seems and sounds like he's very interested in continuing to cooperate and work with us to, print some, but it would perhaps need to be, at least initially, a limited run. I don't know his resources that would be available to print too many of these at that price that he quoted. So I said I would come back and bring that information to the commission, and if we had any discussion about how many that we thought might be appropriate, given, what kind of utilization we could envision, as well as if it's a limited print, some very obvious places we would place them, maybe not in every place where they currently have their pamphlets available throughout the community, but maybe at central locations like a library, like county offices or city offices, or the recreation center where, high-use buildings or facilities. And just see what happens with that initial run and see if there's appears to be a demand for printing more or not. But he said that he would be happy to work with us and, reach a number that would be, something that we could agree to and that he would be able to do with the budget restrictions that he may have.
Is there a limit to how many you can order, or a minimum?
He didn't indicate that. we talked initially about a number between 10 and 25, and he seemed that would be something that they might be able to work with their printing outfit that they use.
Are they seeking help to pay for that, or was
didn't
it just
say
a conversation?
He
Okay.
didn't say so, but I don't know what he has available, and if, it's not a number that we would think we would want to increase, that we might maybe be able to help with some limited number, but right now it's something that it sounds like he has access to some resources to print a limited edition. And like I said, he didn't have a number yet for other language printing. But those three items, the language and Braille, and where at to locate them. He would be looking for feedback. And he'd be willing to come to one of our meetings as well. Now, they have a semi-annually, they meet as a county-city joint board that oversees the transit operations. They have a meeting in June. And of course, I don't know if they have any plans to change schedules or any other information, so it might be that they want to wait to see what happens at that June meeting before moving ahead with printing anything, if something in their materials may change. But he'd certainly be willing to come here and discuss those issues with us. We would like him to.
That's a good point. Are there other that schedule changes and then you print it and then it's no longer valid? Are there other options? Obviously, this isn't my lived experience, but do people use like a QR code that can speak, or, is there some other way to convey this information that's not printed? And is that useful? I don't know.
Well, I can share with you that in my phone, it has what they call a voiceover feature, and I would suspect that most smartphones have that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so if you can open up a web page or get into like a PDF file that contains the pamphlet material, that function, that software that's in the phone will read that to you. It reads to you what's on the screen, so you can hear it. And I use that for a lot of stuff on my phone.
Yeah, I would imagine it's hard to retain a timetable, though, and you're, just hearing a timetable and not being able to refer back to it for something like this, for a schedule, that could be hard too. So,
Well, you can save it, at a certain
Just-
spot in your phone. Like if you would get it attached to an email, you can save those certain emails in different boxes in that app, and find that folder that you have and just open it. And there
just
it is.
replay it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the website's always there. Their website, but that's for folks who, of course, would be fluent with using technology.
Right.
To
Right.
get that information. You still can call them, to get the information that you need. I don't know if they have it on after hours or on holidays. They have a voice message that folks could call into. But, I don't know what their history is with serving the public that would have those needs.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I don't know what their ridership. And then I suppose they're still pretty new, and there's probably people who maybe would ride but don't because they can't access the information, versus the people who are already riding. They're not necessarily the ones that need. I mean, they're already there, right? Yeah, that's hard to say.
So maybe it'd be good to, have him here and engage him in some of those questions.
Yeah.
If he'd
I
be
like-
is willing to come, and you have his contact information, you could just let us know. You could just email Lisa, and then she could put him on the agenda for the next meeting.
Sure.
That'd be great. The other item on the other business was David Mesta, who's a representative from Copal. He was going to be in attendance to provide an overview of the organization, what they do, and what services they provide. They are a member-based organization that was established in 2018 to improve the quality of life of Latino families. He couldn't make it because of the weather, so I will add him back onto the next meeting agenda.
Madam Chair, may I go back to
Yeah.
the Herman Express?
Yep.
Another thing that we might want to consider having conversation about is I expressed hope that the Herman Express can provide ridership later, longer hours. I feel that people that use that basically have to go home at 6 o'clock at night. And there's activities sponsored by the city. Let's say there's the concert in the park, there's other things, and it limits the independence or the ability to attend if they're dependent on a friend or somebody to give them a ride, as opposed to being able to go on a scheduled route and attend those activities, or going out to eat for the evening. Why is it? Because you have mobility issues and ridership issues that you can't go out after 6 o'clock at night. So that's my drama. I did throw it out in just a conversation recently with an individual that has some influence with the project. It's early on, but just imagine if you were that person totally dependent on the Herman Express. You have to go home at 6 o'clock at night. And so is it possible for the city to say, we want Herman Express to go longer and come up with the extra, I don't know if it's $50,000 or $100,000 a year, but it's something for conversation. So if you hear something about it, it's because I am trying to figure out a pathway to make that resonate with more people in the community that are decision makers.
Thank you. Legislative update. I don't have anything specific. I know there's a lot going on, both state and the federal level, but I have not had time to kind of dig through. I don't know if anybody else has any other specific examples, but just something to keep an eye on. I'll try and do a better job next meeting of just going through things, especially at the state level. City Council's Obehi, and she's not here tonight, so we don't have an update. And then the date of the next meeting is Monday, May 26th, which is Memorial Day. City Hall is closed. So we need to determine a different meeting date. So far, she has alternate dates, May 21st, 22nd, and 28th. Which is,
Wednesday, Thursday, and Wednesday.
okay. So Wednesday, Thursday before, and then Wednesday after Memorial Day. Does anybody have any preferences?
Wednesday, the 28th might be something that will allow our committees and so forth to
Yes, I like that.
ample time to meet and schedule, give them more days to schedule.
Yeah, that's the only one that works for me, so it's the 28th.
I make a motion, we move it to the 28th.
Second?
Any other discussion? All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And that motion passes, so it'll be on the 28th of May. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So move.
Have a second?
I second.
All right, all approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.